Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Weekly Headlines. I am Dustin W. Stout of Dustn.tv, bringing you the hottest, the funniest, and the coolest news in social media. Let's get right into it. Our first headline today is the Apparently Kid. So if you saw this cute little 5-year-old last week, he made his television debut on a public news station, and it was just the cutest thing in the world. His name is Noah Ritter, and apparently Noah Ritter got 10 million views apparently in 4 days, and now apparently he is a viral video star because apparently he has been auto-tuned by Shmo Yoho. And apparently this is a big deal for a 5-year-old. So I've put the link to this video in the notes for this blog post and for this video. So if you haven't seen it yet, you need to see it immediately. Click on that link, watch that video, and it will make your day. Also, an interesting story about a teenage boy who has become Instagram famous, whatever that means, and for doing various celebrity impressions. So what he does is he takes a celebrity photo and recreates it himself, usually females' photos, and it's quite funny, can also be horrifying, so you can't unsee them sometimes. But it is very interesting. He now has over 1.6 million followers, and it's quite an interesting story. Again, the link is in the full post to this if you want to go check those funny and sometimes disturbing photos out. This was interesting. Snapchat, according to ComScore, is bigger than Twitter for millennials. Now, when asked how ComScore got this data and to show proof of it, ComScore only replied with, we would, but all the survey responses disappeared after 10 seconds. So I guess we'll never really know the accuracy of that report. Now, Facebook, if you're at all familiar with this algorithm that Facebook has, it's a funny thing, and one author decided to test it, and he decided to like everything that he saw in his Facebook newsfeed for 2 days straight, just to see how it affected his newsfeed. His findings were quite interesting. He says, after checking in and liking a bunch of stuff over the course of an hour, there were no human beings in my newsfeed anymore. It became about brands and messaging rather than humans with messages. On the second day, he also noticed that his desktop newsfeed was drastically different from his mobile newsfeed, and that on mobile, the real people content was far less than on the desktop, which is interesting, figuring in Facebook's last quarterly earnings, saying that most of its ad revenue came from mobile. He was also quoted saying, my feed was showing almost only the worst kind of tripe that all of us in the media are complicit in churning out, yet should also be deeply ashamed of. Sensational garbage. In his final note, the author says, by liking everything on Facebook turned into a place where there was nothing that he actually liked. That's interesting because most of us, we don't have to work that hard to make that happen. Now, here's something interesting in the news. Twitter has reported that up to 8.5% of active Twitter profiles are actually robots. That's right, a report from Twitter revealed that about 23 million people or profiles, quote, used third-party applications that may have automatically contacted our servers for regular updates without any discernible additional user-initiated action. Or in other words, they're robots. Additionally, the company estimates that less than 5%, or 13.5 million users, are fake or spam accounts. That comes to a grand total of 36.5 million active robots. After this was reported, LinkedIn announced its first ever Robot Appreciation Day, where they welcomed in robots in the area to come into their headquarters, take professional headshots, and fix up their resumes. Hey, they got to get those active users somewhere, don't they? Now here's another fun one. Yahoo is in the news for their Twitter account being hacked. Just before 5 p.m. Eastern last Sunday, the Yahoo News Twitter account tweeted that there was an Ebola outbreak in Atlanta where an estimated 145 people were infected. About 10 minutes later, they tweeted that the previous tweet was unauthorized and people should disregard. In other news, Twitter hacking outperforms promoted tweets in Twitter advertising. So if you'd like to promote your Twitter account, don't waste money on ads, just get it hacked. Now, last week, as always, I talked about something that I wanted to know whether you thought it was a good idea or bad idea. We call it our good idea, bad idea segment. We got a lot of responses. Last week was about Facebook's Messenger and its big aggressive push towards the Messenger app. I had a few people respond, almost all negatively. Our friend Andrew said, now that I hear the permissions, which I had not looked into, I'm thinking of removing the Facebook Messenger app. It's actually a sentiment shared by a lot of people, not a whole lot of people happy about this. My buddy Jason says, I hate that they are forcing this on us, and I am resisting as long as possible, but like everything else in Facebook, we will bend to their will. And isn't that the truth? We moan and complain and cry for 10 minutes, and then we just accept it because there's nothing we can do about it. Facebook is going to do what they're going to do because they're after the bottom line, and they have to make those hard decisions. Now, usually this is the part of the show where I go into this week's good idea, bad idea, but in lieu of some current news, our last headline of the night has to do with a heartbreaking piece of news that kind of overwhelmed the internet last week, and this was the news that the great comic genius Robin Williams had passed away. And that's our final headline of the night. I found a great article where it showed that celebrities and his fellow entertainers expressed their remorse and heartfelt condolences this past week over Twitter. Now, Robin Williams was unquestionably one of the most influential comic geniuses of our time. In my own personal life, he was a great source of immeasurable inspiration, and the impression that he's left on me as an entertainer, as a human being, will live with me forever, as will his memory. And one more story that I'm going to put in the link to this in the post is an additional story I found in regards to Robin's passing from comedian Norm Macdonald. Norm, his first encounter with Robin Williams was extremely memorable, and he decided he was going to tweet it out, one tweet at a time, the story of his interaction with Robin Williams. It's beautiful, and I challenge you not to cry while you're reading it. So, in honor of Robin Williams, I'm introducing a new segment this week called Makes Me Happy. The challenge this week is for you to share something that makes you happy, because knowing Robin Williams as much as I wish and pretend that I do, I would think that he wants us to be happy. He spent his entire life making people laugh and bringing joy into the lives of others. So I want you to tweet out or share out something that makes you happy. Use the hashtag #MakesMeHappy, and make sure you give me a mention at Dustn.tv on Twitter or plus Dustn.tv on Google+. Just share something that makes you happy, and make sure you let me know about it, because next week I'm going to highlight some of my favorite ones. For me this week, it is definitely the Apparently Kid. So I will leave you with that, and just pray that you have an awesome week. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's edition of Weekly Headlines. I am, as always, Dustin W. Stout, your creative engineer, your lunatic of social media, and I will see you next week. Thanks.